This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Hi, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September 23rd. It is 6:03 p.m. and this is the Easthampton Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. Okay. If I can only see Kayam, does that mean that the recording can't see us? You know what I mean?
Don't know how that works. I never watched a recording.
Is there other people on?
There's nobody else. No, I don't want you
That's
to
right.
take notes. Is this fine?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I can see myself down there. Okay.
Yeah, he's just
All right.
the only one there.
The layout. If you
Yeah.
want to.
So it's not like giant little things.
Just
Just you.
you.
Oh, that. Or that. Oh, tiled. Here we go. Is that going to work? No, it looks the same.
I think because there's nobody else there yet.
I guess that might be it.
Usually if you're just talking to one other person, it's not tiled.
That's true. Okay. Thanks, everybody. All right, so we have public speak. Is there anybody here to talk about something that's not on the agenda? I don't see anyone. Great. Okay. So June and July meeting notes. Jason, thank you, Jackie, for doing July. I sent them yesterday. Did everyone have a chance to review them? They're riveting. Can I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Hi. I need to remember to send
Hi.
them because I have been doing a bad job with that. Okay. Sean from Abundant Housing Massachusetts is going to join us in a few minutes. Until he does that, I guess we could just, thanks. Talk briefly about our conversation with him, or should we wait?
No, I have it. Thank you.
Up to you. I mean, we didn't really go over anything that this group doesn't know. I don't think.
Okay. Well, then let's wait for him to come and then we can talk about it all together. Okay. Well, then while we're waiting, that's on the agenda. Two kind of longer items, so we might have to stop when Sean joins and then bounce back to it. But I did put together this piece of paper with the questions, potential candidate questions. Jackie, is there anything we should know about upcoming debates?
So you should know that I'm not planning them anymore because as a member of Easthampton Dems, it's felt too partisan for us to, as a group, host anything.
Okay.
We've got some pushback, so we're not hosting a forum, but there are some being hosted by League of Women Voters. Indivisible maybe is working on something. And E-Media. What?
WWLP.
Oh, right.
That's the only one that's actually scheduled, I think.
Well, Easthampton Media is also working on some things. I know they're for sure mayoral debates. I don't know what's happening with city council yet. But I really felt like it's not a good idea for this to be hosted by a political party.
If we were going to submit suggested candidate questions, who might we have the best luck of them accepting them? Easthampton Media?
Maybe. I'm in touch with Sam at League of Women Voters.
Okay.
So we can send them to her. I also want to meet with her and just say, here are things I've done in the past, because she's brand new to town. So just to kind of help her think about how to structure it.
This has come up because obviously the election's coming up, but my staff has been asked to facilitate a candidates forum, and the State Ethics Commission waited and said that that's
Not a good idea.
not allowed. Public use of public resources for campaigning. Like if there's, it's a little too adjacent. So I just, with the questions, I think it's totally fine for us to do that tonight. I would caution proactively sending them out to organizations because you don't want it to look like you've maybe picked and chosen who received it. Like you're,
Well, as far as candidates go, yes.
well, certainly that, yeah. But also, you know, if you only sent it to the Democratic committee and didn't
No,
send it
what
to
I'm saying
anybody
is the
else.
League of Women Voters is nonpartisan. So as they're putting together their forum, it might be nice for them to have some questions around.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it just,
Not to the committees.
if any of them, I think it would be better if they asked you
Mhm.
and then you said, well, these are some things.
Okay.
Like,
Which is what I was planning to do had I been the one to organize the forum, is to go to all the committees and say, send me some questions.
So can we reach out to the League of Women Voters and say, if you would like us to come up with some questions, we have, like, let us know, or should we just be quiet until they ask us?
I would just be very, I guess, neutral in any correspondence about it. Just FYI, we put these together because this is what's important to our group, and we thought it might help facilitate conversations.
Are you saying that's proactive? That sounds correct.
It is. So like I said, I think the ideal situation would be that each of the forum facilitators reached out to this group directly and requested this so that it's everybody that's interested is having like an equal bite at the apple, so to speak.
Okay.
Rather than us targeting certain audiences.
Well, I don't think it matters, to be honest. So is the WWLP one mayoral? Do you know? Okay. So it may be that.
Do we know when that one is, the WWL?
I don't.
Yeah, I do. It's October 17th at like 12:30.
Is it
October 17th at 12:30.
like at WWLP, or is it 12:30? Seems like it's a very weird time to me. Like it's during the day.
Maybe they'll show it later.
Yeah, they'll keep re-airing it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But to
Maybe
your
that's when they're
point, if it is a
recording it.
nonpartisan
Yeah.
group that
I
you're
remember, like,
sending it
used
to,
to host those things
that's
all the time.
different.
WLP would come in and film it.
Because you're not
Don't we have?
You're not making anybody more, what am I trying to say?
You're not giving anybody an advantage. Or,
Yeah, I mean, we could always call
Yeah.
ethics and just say, we want to send this out.
I think it is fine if you're sending
Yeah.
it to the
They usually
nonpartisan.
I think
also
it is.
say, they do often call for questions.
Right.
Okay.
Like I said, I only brought it up because it has come up and
Yeah.
and it was even a bit stricter than I thought their interpretation would be. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's pause this conversation because Sean has joined us. Hi, Sean. From
Everybody, nice to be with you. Thank you for having me.
yeah, thanks for coming. Do you just for the group just want to give like a quick brief description of what Abundant Housing Massachusetts is?
Yeah, I'd do that. So Abundant Housing Massachusetts is a 501c4 advocacy organization. I note that because, with nonprofits, many of them are 501c3s and they have to remain, nonpartisan, and like there's a lot of very strict boundaries there. A 501c4 has a little more leeway. Although not every local group that we work with goes, into the partisan territory. But anyway, like I said, Abundant Housing Massachusetts, what we exist to do is advocate for housing issues, particularly related to the supply side. So when we're looking at policy advocacy, some of the things we look at are, how can we change policy to allow for the construction of more housing or the conversion of more, dilapidated old buildings into housing? Things like that. There are other organizations that do things more on what you could call the demand side, things like tenant organizing, stuff like that. All of it is very worthwhile and necessary work, but just that gives you an idea of like our lane, if you will. So I'll just list like one or two things that we've worked on historically. We're about 5 years old as an organization, and some of the things we've done over the years. One was supporting the passage and then the implementation of the MBTA Communities Act, which included a piece around multifamily housing zoning around MBTA stations and in adjacent communities. Another thing that Abundant Housing Mass was involved in more recently is the Affordable Homes Act, the $5 billion bond bill that was passed last year. Specifically, Abundant Housing played a role in the piece that allows for accessory dwelling units by right. That was like a big focus of our advocacy. I was hired a little more than 2 months ago to help really make Abundant Housing into a statewide organization. So my focus is Western Massachusetts. I said, pretty recent, less than, or a little over 2 months now, but I've been doing housing issue organizing in Western Mass in the Berkshires for over 2 years now. So, bringing that experience into this role, really great organization. And our purpose really is to work with local groups, with the kind of leaders that are on the ground, to provide assistance, support for their own local advocacy, and then where there's interest, help them plug into the statewide work that some of my colleagues are doing in Boston. So that's a little about Abundant Housing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. So Kayam and I met with Sean last Friday to just talk a little bit about what we're doing here and like the zoning report that we came up with, and kind of talked a little bit about, some suggestions that Sean had about sort of, talking to planning board members and kind of like maybe individually trying to reach out to the Aquifer Protection Committee folks who are not super interested, not super responsive to our requests to meet. And really, talked about how Abundant Housing can help us with our messaging, particularly around like the issues and sort of why this stuff is important. So what we talked about, which I think Kyle had mentioned a couple meetings ago, was maybe doing some tabling at some farmers markets, to have some materials that maybe Abundant Housing can supply that are more like statewide stuff that's happening, but then any help that we might have with materials that we might want to have available around some of the work that we're doing. Kyan, did I leave anything out or anything else you want to add?
No, I think that covers it. I mean, when you mentioned materials, I definitely could volunteer for creating some of that with your guys' help and input. Like, I think maybe an info sheet on the zoning report, or maybe like some very basic facts on the state of housing in Easthampton, something like that. But those are the only other thoughts that I had.
Thoughts, feedback?
One of the things we talked about in July was the idea of maybe having a series of questions at the farmers market that are related to the housing production plan that we have to do soon.
Yes.
So if there's some kind of data that we want to collect from kind of the general public, what those questions might be.
Oh,
that
yeah.
We might want to ask. We could have sort of like a big flow chart paper up and have people write stuff and stick it on there. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but that was something we had sort of thought about.
That is a good idea.
And we're working, is PVPC doing something that what is it that we're working with on the housing production plan? We've talked about this too, and it's not in my brain.
It's part of the master plan update. Is that
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
That
was the plan?
is the plan. I'm still waiting to hear back from the state on the grant that I applied for. And also the supplemental local funding was promised by the former mayor. So
Okay.
I will have to sort of see if that is
That's
to be
on hold.
contributed. Yeah, so
The supplemental local funding, we would need to do the master plan update. Yes.
yeah, I mean, if it's not available any longer and we do get the grant, I'll look at ways to trim the scope and try and make it work locally. But
How much money are we talking about for the supplemental piece on the city's part?
it changed a couple times, so let me just double check to give you the right answer.
What kind of questions were you going to be asking?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
At the farmer's market?
So I think what people want to be asked is what they want to see. But I think what we want to know is more about, I don't know. I mean, we're going to do a dive into demographics for the housing production plan. I think it's just a good idea to ask people what they think we should have in terms of housing as.
What our housing needs are in the
Yeah.
city? What they know, we could do like this, like the superintendent's doing, stop, keep, continue, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
And do you think we could also do that at like the community center? I just think for a more
There's
cross
probably
section
plenty
of.
of places we could do it. We
people
would have to
that-
come up with what we want.
Yeah,
them
yeah.
to tell us.
It was a $50,000 match
Ooh,
for a $150,000 grant, so a total of 200.
Wow.
How does that money get allocated?
It would be an appropriation by the city council.
Okay, but how would it be spent, I guess is what I'm asking.
Oh, I see. So the whole plan would be given over to a consultant and it would just cover their fee.
Okay.
Also, so I can talk a little bit about the last master plan because I was on that
Yeah,
committee. So it wasn't just like, we didn't just hand like John Mullen and whoever else
Yeah,
$200,000. No, but I think it helps. I think that's your question, right? Like,
yeah.
so
Like, how
there's a
does it,
lot of
like, how
public
does it get done
participation.
and
There was
where?
like a big opening event where people could come in and just talk about the things that they're interested in. And they did some charrettes. There was food. So it pays for lots of stuff like that. But I'm trying to remember who else worked with John. Do you remember? You weren't here then,
I
were you?
wasn't here.
I'm thinking of Jess. Jess Allen was one of our consultants, actually. So PVPC helped with it too.
It was a long process.
It was
Wasn't
a very long, I was pregnant
subcommittees.
and then my child was in a sling at the end. So she was like I'd like to say Rita was the mascot of the master plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on public participation, and even more so now than in the past. It's like it's a really critical component. So there would definitely be events and
Yeah.
things.
And then it was like the printing of
Technological
the
outreach.
books of the master plan and like all of that stuff. So it takes money to do.
And it sounds like this is sort of could be coordinated with some of the other work that's being done,
For sure.
right? Like the rent study. That's some of the same information is to look at what the demographics are, identify what the need
So
is for
the master
housing.
plan had like 5 or 6 committees. So like open space, energy, I was on the housing one, recreation, like you can see it. It's on the planning department's
Yeah.
website. But yeah,
So I think the idea was that we were hoping to use the housing section as like the update to the housing production plan. So that we didn't have to do like a
There's lot of
whole
overlap.
separate thing.
Right.
Um,
And the
When-
data from one.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
When do you think you'll hear about the grant?
I checked just the other day on the state's website and it said October announcements would be coming. So I was starting to get nervous.
That's like next
When
week.
you don't hear, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
But they said October, so
So no news is
I
bad
don't
news.
know, I'm gonna cross my fingers that we're still in the running for at least one of the ones I applied for.
Thank you for applying.
So when we met with Sean on Friday, we were talking about, there's a couple, like outside farmers markets left before it switches to the winter market on October 5th and October 12th. So we could just do a table there and have some like basic materials, like I just mentioned, like, you know, some housing facts and sort of use that as an opportunity to try to engage folks. And that might help us kind of be able to better figure out what the questions are that we want to ask.
Maybe make a notations so that people know to come to the winter market to be able to give their feedback.
Yeah, or we could even have a like sign up if you're interested in learning more. And then if we ended up having a more interactive event at a future farmers market, we could invite people to come. I think, and also like, I'm sure that if we get to the master planning process, it'd be helpful to have people who might want to come to other events that, you know, we might be holding.
So I think the last time we talked about this, I had volunteered to do farmers markets. I'll be gone October 5th and 12th, but I can do the inside markets. And then once those get started up, it's right in my building.
Okay. Yeah, they're from 10 to 2. I know that Sean's available to come and has some things he could bring to help us like table, but we would also probably want to have some of our own stuff available. Chaim, do you think you would have time to put together like some documents?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pulling together data for an event that I'm hosting later this month or later this week. And I'm also filling out the Housing Coalition website, which has been a lot of just like visualizing the census data surrounding housing in Easthampton. So I'll have a lot of those visuals and screenshots that I can just put on a different format and print out. And I feel like that'll be good. Maybe we can like, I don't know, coordinate in the smaller group about if there's any sort of language or like blurb that we want to write up about ourselves, or I guess we could also just pull what's on the city website too.
Yeah. Is anybody else available on the 5th or the 12th? The 12th is a holiday weekend.
Probably, I think I get 12th. I will be in Portugal on the 5th.
Nice.
Ooh.
Well, flying home.
I'll be flying home from Nicaragua.
Jeez.
I'll be in Italy.
You will?
Sorry.
I was like, I'll be in Easthampton on the 5th.
I'll be in Rhode Island. There's nothing wrong with that.
And on the 12th.
Potentially on the 12th, I could.
Or if you want to wait till I get back at the end of, and we
Yeah.
could delay until the winter market starts. And
Also, though, you have
that would give
to,
us some time to get
if we want to
together
have a
with
table at
materials.
the farmer's market, we have to ask for that.
Yeah, Chaim has been in touch with them and there's no fee because we're not selling
Right.
anything.
No, okay, that's cool.
We're selling information
Selling information.
for free.
Yeah, and we already have permission. We've been put on like the list for both the summer market and the winter market. We just sort of, I told them that our timeline is really slow because we have public meetings and that it might be radio silence for months at a time. So they've been very understanding with that.
Do you know when the winter market starts?
I do not know off the top of my head, but I can figure it out.
Only November.
Do we need to assemble other things
Could be
like
winter
tables,
starting.
pop-ups, signage?
I think,
It's November to December.
I mean, I have a folding table. I think, Sean, did you say you had a table and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. I have a table and, you know, if it's indoor, we wouldn't need it, but like I have a tent weights, table weights, pretty much whatever tabling needs.
mean, once we get to November, I'm in the building. I can
Yeah.
grab a table.
Well, do we want to try to do it in October or do we want to wait till November? Do we feel rushed if we're doing it in October?
Well, Pam, you have those, you've got that, the website that you're putting together, which has some really nice graphics on it. Those would be great, but maybe give you time to finish putting that together, and then we could take a look at that and see what makes sense in terms of having it be, part of a display for the public.
As I've only ever been to the summer, farmer's market. Is it as well attended in the winter?
Yeah. Yeah, people come and go.
Or also, we don't have a meeting scheduled in November, so it might feel like less frenzied housing partnership commitments if we do it in November, because we actually don't have a meeting in November.
Mhm.
I don't care, whatever you guys want to do.
Seems like most people want to do November.
Yeah.
All right, so why don't we plan to discuss Chaim, if you could have draft materials ready for us to look at on October 23rd at our next meeting, then we could make a plan for November.
That sounds like a great plan.
Okay.
I'm gonna be in the air on October 23rd.
You'll be in the air.
Be in the
Oh,
air.
coming from Italy.
Okay.
Nice.
So I won't be able to.
Weigh in. Well, you can weigh in when you
So-
see them when you get back, I guess.
Oh, that's a good week
Yeah.
to travel.
We don't have to make final decisions on the 23rd. Okay, anything else for Sean?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Sean. So we'll be in touch about some dates in November, it sounds like.
All right, so yeah, sounds like a plan. And feel free to share my contact info if it's helpful, if anybody needs to reach me. And yeah, I'll keep an eye out. And
Great.
very nice to sort of meet you all tonight.
Thank you.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye, Sean.
Where is Sean?
Sean's in Pittsfield,
Oh, okay.
so
Massachusetts.
He's the Western Mass
Versus Pittsfield.
person.
New Hampshire. I just had this conversation
Okay.
just like at dinner an hour ago. And we kept talking about Pittsfield. I was like, Pittsfield's not 3 hours away. And she was like, oh, Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
So just
I
today.
didn't even know
okay.
there was a Pittsfield, New Hampshire.
Who did? Apparently that person.
All right, that sounds like a good plan. All right, can we pivot back to questions? I would, since we don't know if anyone's going to ask us for them or that anyone's going to ask our questions, I would suggest we don't spend an enormous amount of time on them. But I think if we come up with one or two that we really like or want to have on hand, that would be my recommendation. I don't think we need to torture ourselves over it. The one at the top, for those of you who have the handout, is one that Ben recommended. And then it's obviously the ones from 2023 and the ones way back from 2017. I feel like there was some in between, but I can't find
Yeah.
out.
Well,
Maybe not. I don't know.
maybe not.
Mm.
This one that says, based on the housing production plan recommendations, do you support addressing exclusionary zoning ordinances that make building and renovating? Like, that's way too in the weeds.
Way too in the weeds.
Way too what?
In the weeds.
It's like
Yeah,
very
Very much
specific.
so.
Yeah, I think definitely more, I mean, general questions on specific issues. So that makes sense. Like the one that you have here.
Yeah, I think if there were only one, Ben's is a really good one.
Yeah,
I would even just say new housing and not
Yeah.
quantify it as market
that's
rate.
true, because then they can,
Yeah.
then you guys kind of hear what they focus in on.
Right.
Yeah, I just noticed there's a lot of affordable housing, which
Yeah.
is great, but,
Mhm.
so I don't want to, I think they are two different issues
Yeah, they are.
and that like are tackled differently, so,
That's true.
I'm fine with whatever, but I just thought having that one was
Mhm.
important.
Yep.
So
Okay.
it could be like the same question, but just replace it with affordable. housing instead of
Yeah, yeah.
market rate or something. Or just say market rate and or affordable.
Well, also, I mean, I was thinking of these in the context of if we're talking with the public, as we were talking about earlier. And, you know, when people think of affordable housing, there's capital A affordable housing and there's affordable housing. And so trying to clarify that for people so we understand, so they understand what we're asking and they understand, or we understand what they're responding to.
Right.
I think that's what Graham and I did at the forum last year. So we basically went over that definition for everybody who was in the room and then asked the candidates questions.
I was thinking the way that the question's worded, how like it both includes the word market rate and affordable. So it could pay like a focus on either one. So you might wordsmith it to like, what are the biggest barriers to building new housing in Easthampton that is within reach of households with average incomes, or something that doesn't like prompt people to go right to affordable housing, but is within reach. Or attainable, yeah, something like that. That way the focus doesn't end up on either one. To answer how you would
Trigger word.
You think?
Okay, I like that.
Same thing with social housing. What do people understand social housing?
Yeah, that's
To
kind
be-
of strange.
Yeah.
Is that it here?
It's under the
20.
2023. I don't know if we actually,
I don't know if you asked that.
I don't think so.
I kind of like the one about growth.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was the other one that attracted me as well.
I don't know if I would say too much growth, but there's been concern about growth. Like, you know, I don't know, what do you think? How would you communicate this to speaking to changing housing needs?
I like that a lot. I mean, maybe it needs to be
There's so much misinformation
clarified,
right
but-
now about that specific thing, I think.
I like it a lot because, you know, some of our public speakers have spoken about their concerns over too much growth. So I like the idea of addressing that. That's partisan. Addressing too much growth.
Yeah, I think that first question with the suggested amendments to it.
I would love,
The one about growth. I think,
Do you want to change any of the words in the growth one? Just leave it as is.
concern over growth in Easthampton.
You can take out what do you think? Wide or wanting to know what they think.
I know.
I would love like a visionary question as well, like, and maybe you can help me conceive of it, but something like, how do you envision like the residential, I'm not sure which words I'm looking for, but like that doesn't lead them, like all these kind of lead them to different topics that were like
What is your vision for
housing and just in
Easthampton?
Easthampton, like what is what is your ideal vision? What is your ideal vision for living in Easthampton, like in terms of housing?
I mean, that kind of gets at growth.
It does. I feel like it like doesn't feed them anything. Like they have to like come forth with their values
Or word salad?
or word salad, but you get to hear, do they, because are they answering with something with specific, like, and be specific. I always like to add that, like be specific, don't just start. And see who can actually talk in a specific ways about things.
Maybe something like, what is your vision and strategy for meeting Easthampton's housing needs or something like that?
Yeah. Meeting the needs, but it's like, even
that's a little too.
bad. It's not even about the needs, just like, what is the ideal?
If you could snap your fingers.
Yeah, if you could snap your fingers, what
Perfect, what would it look like?
yeah, what is the ideal housing
Pretty
makeup?
telling.
Housing makeup, maybe. What is the, you could snap your fingers, what is the ideal housing makeup? And
Well, it's not even about, like, I feel like it's about growth,
Yeah,
right? So
but-
if you could snap your fingers, like, what would the ideal Easthampton look like? Because then they would talk about
Exactly.
housing, they could talk about businesses, they could
Yeah.
talk about
yeah,
transportation, they could talk about,
right.
they don't talk about housing, I feel like that's also kind of.
Or if someone is talking about you know, this was always a rural community and we should get back to that. or something
It
like
wasn't always a rural community, though. There's literal factories in the downtown.
I know, she's saying someone else might.
Oh, I know. I'm not, that wasn't at you. That was,
that. Yeah, no.
She's already triggered before she heard the answer.
Sorry, Jackie. Take a deep breath.
We're a city.
literal factories run by a water wheel. And also agriculture. We have both.
Yeah, yeah.
Buttons.
Buttons.
Well, that is what I heard when, I was
Female
talking-
entrepreneurs, female innovators.
How it was a
I should
rural
have probably
community.
known that.
What?
That's why that's called the Button Building.
Emily Willison, she's the one.
Yeah, I definitely knew all of it. Anyway, back to you,
Maybe
Jackie.
we
What
need
was
you
the-
and give you an Easthampton history
Cloth
book.
covered buttons, right here.
All right, so we've
like
got a couple
sepia
on the
books at
table. We got the
CVS.
growth question. What's your ideal vision for housing in Easthampton? If you could snap your fingers and create the ideal Easthampton, what does it look like?
Read this again.
All right, so this is the existing growth one. There's been I edited this a little, but there's been concern over growth in Easthampton. How would you work to communicate the data on this issue, speaking to changing housing needs and household makeup in our community? What is your ideal vision for housing in Easthampton? Be specific. Or if you could snap your fingers and create the ideal Easthampton, what does it look like?
I think the second one is scaled, right?
Which one, can you read that one again?
Your ideal vision for that one?
Oh, is that the one I came up with? I'm sorry. That's probably the one I came up with. Yeah.
So I think with there's a lot of concern over growth. You're making an
Yeah.
assumption that there are changing housing needs and
Yeah.
that someone is aware of the household makeup in our community. And what we really want to know is that person aware of what the changing housing needs are and what do they think those changing housing
Yes.
needs are? So there's been a lot of concern over too much growth in Easthampton. You know, how, you know, are you aware of the data on the issue? How will you communicate that data?
I wouldn't even tell them there's a lot of concern. I feel like that introduces like
Negativity.
negativity. I would just be like, what is your perspective on growth in Easthampton?
Well, you want to know what they know about it. Like how
Yeah.
informed are you about
Okay, you-
growth? I mean, I've been sitting on this committee for a year and a half and I still don't know.
Right. I just don't want to say like there's a lot of concerns. I just feel
Yeah.
like this is
We
like-
can say,
No, I
what is
like
your
the, what is your perspective on growth in Easthampton?
You could say there's been pushback. There's been a lot of pushback. There's been a lot of public
But see, I wouldn't
scrutiny.
even want to know if they like,
Know that?
if they're bringing, if that's,
Mm,
not if they know that, but if like that's part of their,
Well, the reality is we actually aren't growing.
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean, it
There's
would
been a
be
lot of scrutiny
helpful,
about
like,
it, and it's
if
stopped
they
growth.
know that, right? Like, actually,
What about
the same
something like,
population for the last 25 years and our schools actually decline, enrollment is going down. We're not growing.
We're not growing in terms of people.
Right.
But the population is changing. And so the needs of the community are changing. So that's what we're trying to get at. Is that what we're trying to get at with that question? Talking about changing housing needs and household makeup.
Well, I don't think we need to, I think we could take that entire question out and say, what is your perspective on growth in Easthampton? And not give them the leading statements about what we
Yeah,
want them to
okay.
ask
To Donna's point, what do we want?
them to say.
Yeah, what are we?
What are we asking
looking
of
for
them?
in that case?
We want to know how well informed they are. And,
Does that get at that, or does it need more, is the question?
you know,
Because you could be thinking about lots of things when you think about growth, right?
what about something like, how would you frame a response to aversion to growth in the city? Or something like instead of saying like, there has been pushback or there has been concern, instead saying like,
How would you respond?
But we're setting them up to be on the other side of aversion.
Yeah,
which we're
right,
not. I
right.
think it's just like, what is your perspective on growth in the city, and can you, given that whatever the perspective is, can you?
I think something
Isn't it more
about
about, like-
changing demographics would be
Yeah.
helpful.
The
Isn't
city
it-
demographics.
and isn't it more about their experience with the issue like how well informed are they about the issue? And how, what experience do they have with respect to growth in Easthampton and housing needs?
Can you speak a little bit to the growth in Easthampton, but to the growth that's not happening in Easthampton?
What about like, what is your understanding of the
Yeah.
data around East Hampton's demographic
Very good, yeah.
Yeah,
and how they affect housing needs?
Yeah,
I like that.
Wait, say it again.
What is your understanding
Uh-huh.
of the data around East Hampton's demographics and how they impact housing needs?
yeah, I like that.
I like that too.
That's very nonpartisan. And they then have to say, well, I'm not up to speed on this topic, but this is how I learn about it. I'm hoping to, come to this meeting or that meeting or whatever. Or they
Okay.
can say, yeah, I've been studying this for years and blah, blah, blah.
The only caveat is that somebody could respond with totally false data and now like the public is getting exposed to a bunch of misinformation, but we can't control
Happens
that.
all the time.
Yeah, at least there's more than
On
one
the-
candidate, so hopefully
On the
one will,
news.
call out the other,
Yesterday.
I don't know.
Right, and then you'll know.
We'll hear about their different perspectives. I think it's good too, because the question kind of like, I like questions that get them to speak from their place.
Yeah.
I've noticed, and I noticed this when I was a candidate, that like there was a lot of questions that was basically all of us saying the same answer. Like there was really only one right answer. And so it was like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think blah, blah. And it was like, it's like,
Me too.
Me too. It's like, so I think this is good when you get them to somehow connect with their inner knowledge, with their inner perspective.
Yeah. But also to your point about the data, if the data is incorrect, does this venue allow for correction of that data? Like, can you say as a follow-up question, well, I'm afraid, it sounds like you're misinformed about the data. Or something
Be
like
out of our,
Asking
yeah,
the
because
question.
we're not the moderators, so.
Yeah.
we
We
just-
can't hire like,
Fact checkers.
what's their names from?
I
from
object.
CBS.
Yeah. We'll just have to,
Yeah.
cringe and hope that someone else corrects them. I mean, there's multiple candidates, so,
Yeah.
all right, so we have two, does that sound good?
I have 5 on
Oh.
my minutes here. So which ones did we land
We
on?
like Ben's.
And but we changed it to say
Say
something like, what do you
attainable.
see as the biggest barriers to new housing in East Hampton that is attainable to households with average incomes, and how would you address those challenges?
Yes.
So we're getting rid of what is the ideal housing makeup?
Yes.
Wrote that one down.
What
You
are
could
the,
Snap your fingers. What would
Yeah.
it look like? No.
that's 2.
What is your understanding of the data on East Hampton's demographics and how they impact housing?
That's 3.
Yeah, and then I'll just get rid of the.
What's
I had
the
another
second one?
The second one was what is the ideal housing
yeah.
makeup thing? If you could snap your fingers and create the ideal East Hampton, what would it look like? Which I actually think is kind of interesting.
Do you think the vision?
Yeah.
We could keep that one. and then
It's just not it doesn't
Maybe
have
not
to
the
be
way
a
it's-
housing question.
no,
but
it
it
is
is a
not.
good question. I
I
would
don't
leave it
know
in.
if it's bad to narrow it to housing and just say, what is your
Yeah,
what is
vision
your
around
vision
housing.
for the
Housing.
future of housing in East Hampton?
Yeah, I like that. There, future of housing.
And so it should.
Sky rises.
Should there also be a question about low-income housing? We're saying, like Ben's question, households with average incomes, what do we mean by that?
Well, it's intentionally up for interpretation, I think.
Yeah,
which I
so
think
do
is
we
a good
want
thing.
something that says, another question that says the same thing, but households with low income, or frame it as capital A affordable housing?
I feel like what is your understanding of the data on East Hampton demographic? Like that should get them to talk about, let's talk about seniors.
Mhm.
Do you want to use the word understanding over perspective? Because understanding feels kind of like you're a teacher in a
I was
class.
just gonna say, like,
Versus, like-
are we quizzing?
Yeah, like I
them?
feel like perspective is the same question, but kind of making it put it through their lens. I don't know.
I am 100% condescending teacher on this one. I think we say, what do you know?
Okay.
Do you know
It's
anything?
not really like, yeah, what's your perspective on the, like, I feel like demographic data, you don't have a perspective.
Okay, well.
I think
There you go. I think there's a lot of perspective.
What if we just soften the language to how familiar?
or something.
No, I think I like
Okay, understanding, that's fine.
Because what's gonna happen is if these questions go to someone who's hosting this, they're gonna tweak them probably too.
Yeah.
Fair. So, yeah, I have 3 down.
I like those 3.
That's good, yeah,
Okay.
I like it.
I think we've honed it down to essence.
Great. Awesome. So, what did we decide on doing with these questions? Having them on standby in case anyone asks?
So
You want to talk
I
to?
have to talk to Sam from the League of Women Voters about I told her she could pick my brain on things we've done in the past in Easthampton because she's new to Easthampton. And I might, she might want to be wondering what other committees she could get questions from.
We could we just send them to like every venue that's having it? Just like,
Yeah.
hey, we're just submitting these questions.
I think
It's only gonna be like 2 or 3 venues at the most.
Not a political party.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's the Democratic
Yeah,
Committee or the
yeah.
Republican
So
Committee.
every nonpartisan.
To be fair, any of the candidates could watch this meeting. Right. And hear all of our questions as well.
Yeah. Well,
I was actually gonna say, I don't have any input on the questions and I'm not, deliberating on that, but I was wondering like, what if the committee could just put out like a memo to the public with these questions and then like any host could pick those up, or we could point hosts to pick up the questions.
We'll put it on the website or something.
Can we put it on like this? You probably can. You can. I don't.
Yeah,
know.
it's kind of like a weird, it's just a weird.
maybe
Yeah.
we need to plan the debates already. It's like almost
Can we
October.
just put them?
It doesn't take that long.
Okay.
Well, we
really
could
doesn't.
put them. I mean,
Well,
we
it
could
takes
put them
time
on
to block it
Facebook,
out
but
by
we have to be
schedule.
like our personal pages.
Oh, right.
So, I mean, sure, but I don't know if that really helps.
Well, they're in the public domain now because we've talked about them in this meeting as
Yeah.
recorded.
Yeah.
That's true.
So if anybody in
And
this
it was
room
on the
wants to
agenda.
share them, and they're on the agenda, so they are now shareable,
Use that.
right?
And Kyan's here.
Who is a candidate?
He's a candidate, which is why he is purposely not weighing in on the questions.
He and I wrote them last time.
Well, but that was 2020.
I was like, let's write questions that I can answer and
Well,
only I
he's,
can
it's
answer.
not like, yeah, he's the housing guru, so he's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you talk to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could reach out to Easthampton Media and say, if you're interested in some questions from the partnership, let me know.
Yeah, and I think they're working together,
Oh, okay.
media and,
Well, I think
League of
it's
Women Voters.
okay if you send the actual, if there's only like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there's only be like,
it's not like we're sending a pamphlet of like,
No.
here's some very important talking points.
Yeah, no. Right.
I do think we went out of our way to make these questions as neutral as possible.
Yeah, which I think is also
Yep.
helpful to toe that line a little.
All right, great. What is next? The PVPC drinking waters memo. Thank you, Al.
What's the scoop?
Thanks for sending it to me so that I can send it to
What's
all of
going on?
you.
What
So
is that?
this is related to the Aquifer Protection Committee.
oh,
So PVPC had a grant from the Massachusetts Municipal Vulnerability Program and decided to review Easthampton zoning ordinance as related to the protection of the city's drinking water supply. And has put forth a memo of their recommendations along with the actual like changes to the zoning, which I didn't actually look at very carefully. So I think the part that there is a section of the memo that relates to our zoning recommendations. So basically calling for a build out analysis, which is what we've kind of been dancing around and talking about. And I don't know how complicated that is. It sounds complicated.
So in talking with Patty, the author of the recommended changes and that memo that you're referring to, her perspective is that it should be done through the lens of drinking water protection. So the impacts not only of like impervious surfaces, but runoff from lawn fertilizer and just the different types of impacts that development have that are a bit more subjective, I think, which makes it a more complicated analysis. Definitely. Like you'd have to draw from different sources to just try and find reliable data that accurately reflects like what we could realistically expect. And like a standard build out analysis would use geographic information systems, GIS, so kind of rule out areas that are undevelopable for whatever reason, wetlands, topography, what have you, and then take what's left and figure out how many units you could fit on it based on the zoning. That's sort of like a high level.
But who would do that?
So that's the thing. You'd like it would have to be.
You'd have to pay someone to do it.
Yeah. So and I was hopeful the city, as a member of the Regional Planning Commission, we get so many hours a year of like technical assistance from them, but each technical assistance request has like a cap of like it can't take more than 12 hours.
Okay.
And so this would exceed that. Was Patty's assumption. So
would a regular build out analysis exceed it, or just the one that's very specific about?
I mean, I didn't clarify that with her when I was talking with her, but I think her vision again was a bit more involved than the like very simple build out analysis. Because her, again, she was looking at it from the lens of drinking water and protecting the groundwater and surface water, but very concerned about filtration of potential contaminants, which isn't as easily defined by looking at a zoning ordinance.
So the question, friends, is what do we want to do with this information?
Who is it asking to do a build out analysis? Just that there should be one that somebody should do?
It says in order to properly evaluate the proposal from the partnership to relax the uses in the aquifer district, we should do a build out analysis to include the extent of impervious cover with all associated driveways and parking areas and likely generation of pollutants from such services.
So we means the city.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Like we're
Not like, right.
we don't budget.
So I mean, it's come up. I think it's going to continue to come up. Honestly, like I think it's not something necessarily that
It's going to go away.
it's going to go away. Right? Exactly.
We do want to do our due diligence, obviously, with regards to our drinking water.
Yeah, it's the challenge is that like the city doesn't have GIS or GIS to do this type of thing, so we would have to nail down some funding unless somebody was able to.
Is that a project that, do they have that kind of GIS port at UMass in the planning in LARP?
Definitely.
It sounds like a great class project.
Yeah, you'd have to line it up with their semester.
I know.
Which is because
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. There is also potentially a grant opportunity coming up, but time frame for them releasing the request for responses and then submitting the grant and then the announcement and then the contract takes forever. So I mean, I'm like more than happy to go after that grant if it's announced. It won't happen quickly.
Nothing does.
No, it doesn't.
Because my thoughts are like, what the whole thing with this project is that we're adjusting the zoning to match what's there already,
Right.
basically. And so we're not necessarily like
drastically
Yeah,
changing what
there's
would
not
be
that
there.
many vacant lots, I don't think. Maybe that's the point of the build out
But the
analysis.
ADUs, like
the
potential
ADUs.
ADUs.
So data uses a state,
Yeah, but that's, that's allowed already. I mean,
that's allowed
we're
already.
in, there's already this, I mean, the big thing is that we're not impacting the, maximum impervious surface per lot. Like that's not going to change, whether it's an acre or a quarter acre, it's still the same amount of impervious surface. So I can hear where Patty's coming from.
Yeah.
It's good to like look at and stuff, but
I think even a comparison of like what would be allowed now with the ADUs and with our current zoning compared to what's allowed here, like the number of new units that are possible, even just having that sort of baseline is proposed would be helpful. But again, it requires like a level of spatial data analysis.
So I think where I'm confused on this is like we already have the overlay district that sets restrictions on like potential hazards and infiltrants. So like my question then to them would be like, shouldn't the work be on strengthening that overlay district that supersedes any work that we would be doing on the underlying zoning? Like it doesn't necessarily really matter because the overlay district supersedes all of that and has specific protections for all of those things. To me, it just seems like a very complicated way to sort of sweep a lot of this under the rug or like delay the process. And like, I don't know. I also spoke with the hydrogeologist at UMass who like agreed that a lot of our plans would not negatively impact the groundwater and like agreed that, if anything, lowering the lot size requirement would mean less lawn fertilizer and pollutants. So, I don't know.
So she did also have recommendations for strengthening the ordinance. I mean, strengthening, I say it's a lot of it's just updating. I mean, it was written quite some time ago and things have changed at the state level as far as regulations go. And also just the types of concerns we have evolved over time. So there was a lot of that as well in her analysis. Some of what's in the suggested changes is like not permitting duplexes or multifamily residential uses except in an open space residential development, which is it's like a subdivision, but requires the developer to set aside a certain amount of open space. So,
which is unlikely to occur in that.
there's not
There's not a lot of
there's
land to
probably
do
a
one.
few places where that might be possible. I have to again.
Oh,
that data.
like the kind of neighborhood that exists like right across from Eastworks? Like that, are those like duplexes and they have like a green in the middle?
I
think green is like what, Shira?
Yeah, no, yeah.
My way off.
Like that were like built a long time, like an old version of.
Right.
Yeah.
But is that like
No,
kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's like I think the open space would probably be more expansive than that, even though. I mean, that's
But I'm not that bright.
I know you are right.
Yeah, like a
It's a good
cluster
example.
development
Yeah.
is
To see things,
another-
to
We don't
grasp them.
have any of those, do we?
I don't know if the Button Road, like the
Treehouse?
treehouse
Oh.
development, if I don't know if it was done under those regulations, because it's kind of
Yeah.
along those lines.
Yeah,
That's true.
So in any case, there's that in here, which depending on how, so the other question is like, where is the overlay going to be? Is it going to change? Because DEP's regulations, if we followed them like to the T, would cover almost the whole city. So it's like, how do we navigate
I just say like
defining it in a way that makes sense with our current reality? So there's still a lot of moving parts to her recommendations that we're continuing to look at. What part of the city really is vulnerable and which part isn't.
Which part of the aquifer is vulnerable?
Yeah, which part of the city has the least protection between the surface and the aquifer. Is the kind of it, because the aquifer is basically under. There's a lot. I mean, there's just a lot. It's very, and it's complicated for me even to wrap my head around. There's different
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
wells that create the boundaries. We don't use one of the wells anymore.
So how does this actually impact on going forward in terms of development within the city?
Kind of like TBD until we really know and are able to define the area. If it stays relatively the same, the area, I don't think it would have a very substantial. I don't think it would make much of a difference over our current regulations. Other than like you can't use biosludge and like, there's like some things that I think are
So
not that big of a deal.
practically speaking, a developer who is before the planning board today, how does this impact on that developer who's coming and saying, I'm building 60 units and, 50 of them are affordable housing units?
It doesn't, because this is not, it's just,
Has nothing to do with that.
well, if they were building it on the aquifer protection district, the existing regulations would be impacted, not her recommendations, because they haven't been enacted.
Mhm.
We already have restrictions on the aquifer protection district.
Right.
So they just have to fit in with the current zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these are recommendations for the zoning changes we made, and then we could do something different with them.
So
She
update,
didn't-
so she's really asking.
So
us
I do want to,
update
she
us.
didn't make any specific recommendations about the zoning, the housing partnership
To do
zoning
a study.
ordinance. Hers were only related to the aquifer protection overlay district regulations.
It feels to me, because what she wants or is recommending is super complicated, right? And it is not going to happen in a timeline that would meet the needs of the timeline we were trying to get through with the recommendation report.
No, I think I think that's a fair takeaway, that the work that still needs to be done on the aquifer protection overlay district regulations is a much longer timeline.
So we could push forward with what we already have, and if this changes, it would then it would then
Supersede.
excuse my language. It would supersede and then we could also, when we get to the point where that is before the planning board, if we thought it was going to have a real negative impact on housing production in the aquifer protection district, could then weigh in.
Mhm.
My fear is that I don't want to wait for this. I don't want
Right.
to be told by city council, like, well, you have to do everything at once, and now this is going to take 3 years and we're stuck
Yeah.
waiting. And I don't think that the ordinance subcommittee expected it to be this complicated, and then so I don't want to sideline our whole project while the city works on these recommendations. I don't know how others feel.
I mean, I guess with the upcoming election and stuff, is anyone gonna vote on this anytime soon anyway, I guess? So do we have some time to do some sort of study? I
The
don't know.
ordinance committee meeting, the ordinance committee with it at this
At
point.
this point, we were tasked with working it out with the
Working with
Aquifer
it.
Protection Committee and
Oh,
coming back.
And to be fair, the committee I've not met with the committee to go over these recommendations. I've only had a chance to talk with Patty directly, with another staff member. So they've not met.
Yeah.
It's not just that they're avoiding you, they just haven't met.
I'm sorry, who's they?
The Aquifer Protection Committee.
And who's on the Aquifer Protection Committee?
It's a 3-member committee. It's Michael Zerwick, Robert Brannon,
And Rachel Phillips. No, Robert Newton and Rachel Phillips.
Robert Newton, Rachel. Yes.
And they are city employees, they're.
They're like us.
They're like us.
Like a committee.
They're like us. They're
Okay.
just members of the community.
Okay.
Well, Mike Serswick works for the water department.
Oh, okay.
The rest
They're another committee that's tasked with advising.
protecting the aquifer.
Okay.
Yeah, so Patty and I think a couple of the committee members have been actively involved in protecting the aquifer since like the 80s. So they've got like a lot of historical knowledge that is influencing their perspective on things.
And maybe outdated.
I'm not gonna
I was just looking at that. It may be helpful to review this 1990 study. I mean, maybe for some context.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah, Donna, that was the perspective of the hydrogeologist at UMass, was that it was sort of an outdated perspective and outdated science.
and things have already changed. So, you know, for over 35 years, something has changed that geologists must.
So one of the committee members is a hydrogeologist. So I do want to add that too. So like
One of the what?
one of the Aquifer Protection Committee members is
Uh-huh.
a hydrogeologist
Okay.
himself. So he's again approaching it with that.
It would be so they, have we
Background.
asked, we've asked them for a meeting and they don't want to give us a meeting. So.
It was the summer. I
Okay.
was trying to schedule a joint meeting because I think there's members of, even before this came out, there were members of the public that seemed like they had some concerns and it would be helpful to hear them. But yeah, I just haven't gotten a lot of response.
I just think it would be so helpful to just talk about some
Mhm.
things and like bring up these different points
think
and
that
like
was the
around a
plan.
table versus like, yeah, like maybe we could try again. Cause
I'm happy to try again. I mean, I think it also might be helpful for, I don't know if any of us can do this, but and I can't. But like if we could figure out the number of new units that would be allowed to be built in the district, like it might be helpful data to at least, I would imagine city council members are going to want to know that around this particular district, but I don't know how, if we have the,
I mean,
I am the
in-house,
expertise to do this.
like
or-
the city, we don't. We
Yeah.
have to pay time bond to do it.
I don't want to pay anybody to do it. So.
Isn't it just a question of how many houses are already there? How many ADUs could fit in? Or how much expansion could there be to turn something into a duplex?
Well, there's like this impervious surface calculation that you have to do, which includes like your driveway and.
Yeah, you have to like manipulate parcel data and there's a software program that can do that very easily, but it's very expensive and complicated. And so the city doesn't have its own.
Maybe
software.
ChatGPT could do it for
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't know how reliable it would be, but it would probably do it.
Isn't it just, it's who has
It's
this kind
just
of
called
software? Just like
GPT
those
now,
big
so
firms or?
So, yeah, I mean, most of the consulting, I shouldn't say most, like all of the design consulting firms
They
would
have it,
have that.
but not
And
cities.
bigger cities do, bigger cities do.
Well, it just would be nice if the bigger cities would share with the smaller cities.
It's a proprietary software, so you have to buy a license to use it. I mean, we have our own data, but again, it's managed by tie and bond. Like, we don't even manage the data in-house. Whereas bigger cities have like a GIS person
Right.
or two or more. So,
I mean, I know that the Mass Housing Partnership has that parcel database that has a lot of that data on a parcel level. Like I know that they have impervious surface. I don't know like how accurate that is. But I know that that is now public and like we can download the original data and do analysis on it. And I could explore that for the next meeting. But I just don't know, like if we show up with a number, I just don't know if it will mean anything to.
Yeah, that's true.
Was like an expert. So
So what do we want to do?
I'm inclined to wait till city council or someone more official says we need to do a build out analysis other than
Yeah.
just take this recommendation. I agree, we might ultimately get there, but
and then if we hit that kind of pushback, couldn't we like stay on the zoning changes for that area and just keep moving forward with the other stuff?
I mean, that's another option is we remove that part of the recommendation, the report, our recommendations.
I wouldn't do it now, but I'm
Right,
just
but
saying like,
yeah,
district.
yeah, we could just
I don't want it to hold up everything.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think you were probably gonna have to piecemeal it to some extent anyways, just because it's so much. It's just a lot for any
Yeah.
committee to go through. Although it went through pretty quickly with the ordinance committee, I'll say that.
I mean, so far, we didn't go, I don't think we
It was
made it all the
brilliant.
way, but maybe we did.
I think we
We
did.
did, yeah.
We did.
So I could go back to Counselor Denham and say, here's where we're at. There is this other memo and these other recommendations from PVPC. You know, we'd like to keep moving forward. I mean, I think with the election coming up, it's possible that we're not going to get much happening until
December.
Well, it's really only like a month.
January.
that's true. But like they have to, everybody has to like be sworn in again, right? The any
Yeah, in
new counselor in January. So it would probably
Right,
be,
yeah, that's true. It would only be the
Pick back up
mayor.
And the
Okay.
holidays, it's just,
Yeah.
everything goes.
but, and which could leave us a few more months to try to get a joint meeting together, like, you know, give us more time. Like we'd love to chat about you.
We'll bring snacks.
Yeah. But I feel like the message is like, we don't want this to hold us up. Like,
Yeah.
if this gets changed later, fine.
Yeah.
It'll have its own process. It's more complicated than.
Yeah.
Does that seem like a fair plan?
I agree.
Yeah.
How did this come out?
Yeah, that's like, did they see our
Did someone-
proposal and is that what
Started with-
resulted in this memo?
PVPC grant that they got.
Yes, and yes. So Patty separately received a grant to study regional drinking water concerns. And as an Easthampton resident and, you know, had an interest in Easthampton specifically. And so we used us as sort of like a focus community. And that had been in the works, I think, prior to any of this coming up. However, when the housing partnership recommendations were submitted, there was a public response that was very centered on the aquifer
Right.
and the protection of it,
Yeah.
which then led to the Aquifer Protection Committee meeting to specifically address those concerns, which rolled in with Patty's already underway study, and they kind of just like combined their efforts to an extent.
Yes, does the Aquifer Protection Committee meeting have public meetings? Like,
Yeah,
can any of us
that's
attend
good. Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
public speak or
Yep.
of course offer the invitation?
But they don't have a regular meeting time. So unlike us, they don't meet.
They meet ad hoc.
It seems like it's ad hoc.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
mean,
meeting they
when
had
do
over
we
the
meet
summer
on our
was like the
schedule?
first in.
Don't they have to,
Isn't it
there's no
Thursday?
charter to meet a certain amount of time or?
Well, there's only 3 members too, is the other challenge to some extent, because if
Right, they don't have
it's, yeah.
Doesn't seem that big of a challenge.
Are the meetings recorded like ours are?
Yeah, I watched the last one, so I did not, some of you, who went to the last one? Did anyone go? When they actually were talking about our recommendations, I watched it. I watched the recording and I was doing something else the whole time, like while I was listening to it, and then halfway through I was like, what are they talking about? Like, they were talking about Patty's study, but
Yeah.
they really didn't really talk very much about our recommendations. Like, I was waiting for this like heated debate and like it,
Oh, was that the one that was all remote?
yeah, it was.
Oh, weird. So it was, yeah.
There were
It
some
looks like they haven't
technical
met since May
difficulties.
13th.
Yeah, different, the city uses Google, PVPC does not. So the meeting sharing of
take the
screens
summer
was a challenge, if I'm remembering right. So they met in February, March, April, and May, and then
I think there was a more
like they
heated
have-
meeting that was in person that
Mhm.
was when this first came out, and I don't think any of us were there.
I was there for part of it. And that was in February.
But it was mostly heated from the community side, I believe,
They hate about.
about us, about the recommendations. And ruining the aquifer.
It does not. But you could still ask the clerk if they.
All right, so that's what the plan is. I will get back to Connie.
Okay.
Yes, I think that was it for the agenda. Just a reminder of our upcoming meetings. We are meeting October 23rd is our regular meeting time. Fourth Thursday at 6 p.m.
Are you calling me out for calling you out?
Well, we're not meeting in November. And then we're meeting on December 1st at 6 PM.
Okay, October 23rd was 6 PM too?
Yes, that's our usual meeting time.
Okay, and November what?
No
November,
November, because
December.
it normally would be on Thanksgiving, and then we're just gonna meet the beginning of December. So we're kind of combining November and December into one meeting.
I think I had it on my calendar. What was it?
I mean, I sent it out a couple times, but
Okay,
I just
sorry.
like, no, I just like to remind everyone. Sometimes I need a reminder.
Just too many Tetro emails.
We don't know
Sorry.
the location yet, do we?
No, we don't know the location yet.
Of what?
October 23rd.
It's usually here, but there
I
was
can
some,
check.
there was a little bit of a mix up. I think on one of them we're in conference room B.
Right now, we're scheduled for October in this room.
Okay.
That's,
so
it
sad.
could change,
Okay.
but for now, we're in here.
Maybe it's December we're in conference room B.
I can.
That's the December date.
I think we're also scheduled on the city website for a Thursday meeting this week too, by accident.
Oh.
I don't,
I was in contact with Mary Ann diligently about this. So if that's,
Oh, look, if it's something I can take down, I will.
What's her name?
it's not my
Barb is
fault.
gone.
Yeah, we're in the basement.
Oh, Barbara retired
December is the
in the basement. Okay. Back where we used to be a long time ago.
Barbara retired in the basement?
No.
All right. Anything else that we need to discuss?
Being so silly. Especially Sean.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
New Year.
All
So
right.
moved.
It is 7:18. I am going to stop the recording.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.